Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Turnkey and Trimmings. This is episode 8, and in the studio have our CEO, David. David, how are you doing?
Today's a good day, mate. I feel absolutely fabulous.
That's good to hear. It's been a strange time here in this market, in this part of the world, over the last month, I suppose, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to do this now, was to just have a quick chat around that. I don't think there is anyone out there that might be watching this that doesn't know what's happening here in the region. It's impacted everybody, not just here, but around the world as well. And so it was really a chance for us to have a chat around that, what's been going on, what's happened, or what our perception of what's happened in the market based on what we do in the renovation fit out. What's the word?
Sphere, vertical channel.
Vertical, that's the one.
There we go.
In the vertical. And what we're doing, really. So it's just an update, I suppose, is how I would frame this. So how's it been, both for you personally, but also just from a Contractors Direct perspective? What's happened?
Mate, it's been tough. It has been really tough. I think that obviously, the first missile came over on Friday the 28th, I think it was. Everybody heard the bang and alerts came out and all the rest of it. And I think the vast majority of people were just of the opinion, well, that was a bit scary. It'll be done in 2 days. And, it took almost five weeks, right?
Yeah.
5 weeks for it to stop. And it was just very, very concerning because the first week, we've been as a business, we've been growing and we had a very, very healthy pipeline that obviously, got chopped. Quite a large percentage got chopped within 7 days, and then another percentage got chopped within 14 days. And then you go from, denial, oh, it's only going to last a couple of days, to holy smokes, man, this is actually having a material impact. And, when you're a business owner, as you know, you are not making decisions for you, you're making decisions for everybody.
Yeah.
And those decisions that you make, that whilst they might be right for the business, they will impact everybody. And that was, you're dealing with two things, right? You got the stress at home, and then you got the deal of the stress. You got to deal, with the stress of the potential implications of the decisions that you make as a business owner to all of your team and so on and so forth. So it was draining, and every week that this was going on was just taking its toll.
Yeah.
And last night, for being in the UAE, for those who are listening, maybe in another country, the ceasefire deadline imposed by Trump was at 3 a.m. our time. There's a lot of tired faces in the UAE today because not a lot of people slept very well last night. And I think that the news came out at pretty much bang on 3, wasn't it?
Like 2:45.
It was like, oh my word, come on. And it felt like a huge weight had been lifted off. It hasn't alleviated the fact that it's had a disastrous effect on the economy, but it does mean now that potentially we can just start building back up. And I think that's the silver lining, is you need to adjust and hunker down. I don't think I've ever said hunker down, but it's
now.
Yes,
and now
right.
plenty of people might have heard you say it as well, so you can't go back.
And just try and now build back up. So I feel better today. My wife and kids they left in the first week. Your wife and kids also are overseas. That's tough.
Yep.
I think it's better than them being out than it is them being here, because my wife is now more at peace.
Yeah.
She still doesn't like the fact that I'm here. She thinks I'm having a holiday. It's totally not.
It's always interesting, the different perceptions, isn't it? But I agree totally that it is one of those scenarios where what's had to happen over the last 4 weeks, and again, we're very lucky that we're in position to have that happen. I know there's many, many people that are not in that position and have done, been here for the entire time. But it changes also from the ability to manage your own well-being, knowing that it's slightly different because you, like you said, you've got to focus on the business, you've got to focus on yourself, but at least you've got one area of focus that's not quite such a prominent part of your brain
There's almost one less thing to worry about.
I mean, it's still managing that from afar, because of course then they're still seeing things and you get the messages and whatnot. But I think perhaps one of the things that came out of this is how the UAE as a whole came together. whatever your reaction to this scenario is perfectly fine, because we all have different tolerances for risk. We all have different tolerances for what's going on. There was people after that first explosion that were in the car flying
On the way
straight
to
to
Oman.
Oman,
Yeah.
And again, I can understand that. There's
Yeah.
the other people sort of, well, what is this? How is this going to play out? Is it going to take
Yeah.
2 weeks? And we sit and wait and try and adapt to it. And then there's the others like, it will pass.
Yeah.
It's going to go. It can't carry on like this. And I think in everyone there's that part of me, I think, I really hope that's true. And again, what's happened now is a break.
Yeah.
It's not a solution as such, and it's still very, delicate from that side of things. So as a business, whilst again, like I said, there's lots of tired faces, so there's a little bit of that fight or flight has gone because
Yeah.
there's this, but now it's going to take a long, long time, I think, for this region to rebound financially, commercially, and also just in terms of visibility. Because again, I think, don't want to harp on it, but it's not over.
Mm.
It's just, okay, there's breathing space, and fingers crossed there is a solution coming. But when it came to this part of the world coming together, that really sort of stood out for me, struck a chord. All the external media is attacking this place, with all the silly headlines and whatnot around it. But having been here for periods of it, and you've been here for the whole thing, what has stood out about sort of the business community, if you like, on the ground here, given the current situation?
Yeah. I think it's been quite refreshing because there's a lot of people that you meet in business that you kind of you treat that interaction as a transaction. They approach you, they say, "I've got this to sell. Do you want to buy it? Yes, no." And then they leave. You're like, "Oh, that's a nice person."
Yeah.
You know. But I think what happened, I'm quite fortunate. I mean, I've been here for 17 years. You've been here even longer. And in that time, I built up a very, very good, robust network of the OGs. 17 years is a long time. But there's people, in WhatsApp group chats for business leaders that I'm on that have been here for 20 to 30 years.
Yeah.
And the wisdom that came out from these people, because a lot of them, some are Brits, some are Australians, some are Americans, but a lot of them actually come from Middle Eastern countries that have been through, these types of scenarios. And they were able to give very valuable insight that put a lot of minds at ease. And also having gone through, I mean, if you look at COVID, any business that successfully navigated COVID, they came out the other side having learned a boatload of stuff. The majority of learnings came from the stuff that they wish they had done,
Yeah.
but they didn't. And so there was just a wonderful coming together of smart, well-seasoned people that were willing to offer up their advice of what they are doing based on their experience and what happened last time. And it was, this is what we're going to do on week 1. This is what we're going to do on week 4. This is what's going to happen in month 2. This is what's going to happen in month 3. And this is based on scenario 1. Scenario 2 happens. This is what we're doing, and this is what we expect the outcome to be, and so on and so forth. And, I've said this before. You and I, we've been here for a long time. We've been business owners, this one prior, but we only know as much as we know.
Yeah.
And there's definitely something magical about tapping into a very deep experienced network to ask the questions and get potential solutions to scenarios that you've never been in before. And it's like, right, okay, he's a veteran. He's from that country. He did this, he's done that. He's succeeded there, and so on and so forth. And the business is similar to ours. So I would like to think that the blueprint that he's created for his business would be similar to ours. And some of the steps that we made, we made them quick.
Yeah.
And it was on the advice of a lot of people. It was like, hey, don't wait. This needs to happen on week 1. This needs to happen, so on and so forth. And we put the blueprint in place, and it's horrible because it's like we've just spent 5 years building the business to what it is now. And there's an external circumstance that we don't control.
Yeah.
That's now we're starting to see it take a dip. And, it's not always sunshine and rainbows, and I get it. But, when the storm cloud comes in, there's always going to be a silver lining. You just got to put your brolly up and accept that you're going to get
Yeah.
wet feet,
I think that it's a very valid point, because the UAE as a whole, and through our various iterations of businesses that we've owned, building a business here, there is a big energy, entrepreneurial energy in the UAE of support anyway. And I always, when I talk to people, said that in the UK, when you're trying to build a business, getting through gatekeepers and whatnot, and to people that can make a decision is hard, and it's not easy. Whereas here, you can almost open a LinkedIn or ask somebody, say, do you know so and so? Yeah, I can introduce you.
Yeah.
And it's not a case of, oh, I'm this CEO, I don't want to talk to you. So, yeah, how can I help? And that was just amplified during this scenario, is that it was like, okay, how can I help you as a business owner? This insight that we got from people who've been here for a long time. And the one thing I took out of it was an imperfect decision made today is better than a perfect one tomorrow, which was kind of like the thing that we live on. It's like, well, we've got to do it. Now we've got all of this input from these people who have had this experience. Let's make that decision. It's a tough decision.
Yeah.
It's not pleasant, but let's do it now, rather than, because there's also a part of us like, well, what's going to happen tomorrow?
Yeah.
Maybe tomorrow we won't have to do that, or
Yeah.
we don't have to say that, or we don't have to think about those. But, as business owners, as many out there will have played out the multiple different scenarios that could happen, the worst, plan for the worst, hope for the best.
Yeah.
But even in going through that process, there's a mental toll, because going through the worst case scenario, you think, I really don't want to even think about that.
But you have
But you
to.
have to.
You have to. It's horrible, because the worst case scenario is, it's very real, very small probability. But if you don't have that plan in place and know that on this event, these are the 5 things that we have to do within 48 hours. Otherwise, if that event takes place on a Friday, you're not getting together till the Monday, you've lost 3 days worth of potential progress and adjustments.
Yeah.
I think one of the cool things, and this is what I personally love, is when we got through the first 2 weeks, so the first 2 weeks were quite mentally draining and traumatic, because you're focusing on the business that we've already built and the adjustments, and then rolling them out and all the other stuff. But then once that's done, and you're like, right, I don't need to look at that again now unless scenario 2 plays out. Don't need to look at that now. But of the adjustments we've made, what do we now need to do differently? And one of the things that we noticed was Google pay-per-click, the search traffic was way down, way down, understandable. The Dubai real estate market has basically almost stopped, is stagnant. Prices are coming down, and it's difficult for us to be able to forecast or bank on any revenue coming from residential. But what we did was like, right, okay, if we, you throw a scenario out there, if we were going to stop paid advertising, what can we do? Who do we know that will join us in building something for those people that are, whether they're business owners and they're right sizing, so they got to move out of their space and get to a smaller space, or whether they are homeowners and they want to renovate, but now that they got the question mark, can I actually afford it?
Do I want to do it?
Do I want to do it? Yeah, everything
Yeah.
else. And what came out of that, we had 3 really fantastic ideas that cost us nothing, that could potentially provide really solid business continuity for us and the partners that are, participating in it. And I really do think that having those opportunities where someone takes something away from you and says, right, you now need to figure out how you're going to continue to move forward without this crutch. And you're like, right, okay, let's figure this stuff out. And it only took us a day.
Yeah, and it's testament to the team that we've got, that it was, it's like, okay, this is happening, whether we processed it right there and then, or we're kind of having it going around our head. It's like, right, that's done. I'll deal with that later.
Yeah.
But okay, we're here. What are we going to do? And I think very nice segue into some of the things we did, because aside from the community coming together in the business sense with advice and insight and experience, then there was also this outreach of, okay, well, what else can I do to help you generate some revenue? Because yes, the residential market has all but stopped. But from a commercial perspective, from the business side of our business, where we do a lot of office renovations, it slowed, but it hasn't stopped.
Yeah.
And I was personally surprised that not at the projects going on hold, but the new projects that we hadn't actually got in our pipeline coming through and saying, we're going ahead.
Yeah.
And you think, oh,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
Well, targets.
Yeah.
Ambition is ambition, right?
Yeah, it is. And I guess I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was, because I did at one point you think, oh, well, what does that mean for the business?
Yeah.
And is this happening? And does this thing that's completely outside of our control really impact our business to the point where, well, if everybody stops, kind of like in COVID, I
Yeah.
was running a different business at that point. If my customers close their doors, they don't need me.
Yeah.
So they stop paying, and understandably so.
Yeah.
So that kind of went through our head. But the ability of our team and us to get around a table and go, okay, that avenue's closed. What's this one?
Mm.
And and it's a good chance to talk about, I think, one of them in particular, which is this Stay Store support
Yeah.
campaign that we're putting out there, which came from those conversations that you are having with some of the people, other business people in there. So let's talk a little bit about how that came to fruition from our sort of roundtable brainstorming to now being pushed out there
Yeah.
and to help our
That
clients.
that was fantastic because it all stemmed from us asking ourselves a question around that table, which is what would need to happen for someone who is thinking about doing a residential renovation to now follow through with it. It's like, right, okay, well, let's look at the pain points. Pain point number one, okay, they already have the money because they had decided they were going to do the renovation. But now they're concerned, okay, well, I'm going to have to move out of my house. So I either need to go to another country for 2 months, or I got to find an Airbnb, wherever else it is. Then it was, what's going to happen to all of my expensive furniture and my 85-inch TV and all the rest of it? And so the goal was, how many of these potential barriers can we remove to make the decision easier? And who do we have in our network of clients, partners, whatever else it is that could help us create this package that literally was, you only speak to one person or you make one phone call and everything is done for you. And the guys that we spoke to, man, did they come to the party. We so we spoke to Rove Hotel. So the Stay store support, the Stay was essentially alleviating that. Don't worry about, the extra 10, 15, 20,000 dirhams that you think you need to spend on an apartment. You can stay at any Rove Hotel. And then the store, don't worry about, your uh, artwork and all the other stuff and your 85-inch TV. That will be bubble wrapped, boxed, crated, whatever needs to be done, and it'll be put in storage. And you just need to give us your, obviously the support part then is the project management. You just need to give us your property for 2 months or 3 months. Stay at the Rove, relax, use the gym, go for a swim, get your discount on, your F&B, whatever it is. Your furniture is very safely bubble wrapped in a temperature controlled environment. Relax, recharge. We've had a stressful few months, and come back on the 1st of August and move in, you know? And, the fact that we're able to provide that accommodation for free.
Yeah.
The fact that we're able to provide a huge contribution towards the storage costs as well. And then obviously the project management element, because if, ultimately the Rove aren't going to get free rooms forever,
Yeah.
there has to be a controlled element that almost guarantees a handover date and the quality aspect as well. And that was, for me, I felt like it was a revival, if that makes sense, because it was, okay, this is a really audacious package that we're proposing. Who is quite possibly going to even come to the table and agree to these things? Lo and behold, you make a few phone calls, you say, this is the plan, this is what's in it for you, this is how we see it working. Can we put a package together? And now we're rolling it out.
Yeah.
And ironically, sorry, just quickly, we're pushing it out okay, we sent a few out yesterday, but we're pushing it out on the day that the ceasefire is been announced.
Yeah. And I think it's really testament to the networking and relationships that are built when you're here, especially when you're, in the business world, whether you're a business owner or you're in sales or whatever, however you represent that business, because being able to come up with that idea, reach out to Rove Hotels, and they said, yes, absolutely. Reach out to Easy Truck, and they're like, yeah, absolutely. And then obviously reach out to project people and say, hey, what about this? And like you said, it wasn't, let me think about it, I'm not sure. It was a case of, listen to the idea, we're in.
Yeah.
Listen to the idea, we're in. Yeah, let's do this. How
What do you need from me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that kind of support coming to the table is indicative of the environment here in the UAE. and again, not shocking to me because it's happened so many times before, but I think it's also something that if you have not been in this region or are looking in from outside, you don't hear about that. You get
Yeah.
all of the, silly headlines and whatnot, but you don't hear about how this place is fostering relationships, trying to push business forward in spite of the fact that we've got, things flying over our head and bangs going off. Is that there's a subsection of people here that say, okay, yes, that is happening, but how do we move forwards?
Yeah.
And that was something that did surprise me, because there were those moments. I think all of us, you have that wobble. You're like,
Yeah.
um,
It's usually the bang at 4 o'clock in the morning.
that definitely doesn't help. And when you're sat there going, am I in the right place? Am I doing
Yeah.
the right thing? And all of the things go through your head. And then you come in and you wake up, and then and even you've got all of these messages coming in on those WhatsApp groups saying, look, this is my thoughts, is how it is. Don't worry, I've been through this before. This is anything. Okay, at least hearing those things, you're like, right, put it all away. What's next? How do we move forward? And then from a business owner perspective is to be able to do that for the team,
Yeah.
and turn up. And like you said, and the first couple of weeks, extremely draining, because you're fighting with your own internal
Yeah.
um, things. Like,
You got to turn up and smile, even though inside,
yeah,
you
you're in turmoil, and you're
yeah.
thinking, I'm not sure. Maybe I should be telling them, just let's go.
Yeah.
But when you built, like we have built this business, you think, no, no, I
Yeah. I'm
can't
not
do
willing to let it
that.
go.
There's got to
Yeah.
be a solution. And then, like you say, when you get to that point, then the door's open to other people who are willing to help you come up with a solution, and
Yeah.
your brain starts going. They go, yeah, no, let's do that. So I think it's been a tumultuous time, but
Yeah.
the business community coming together to sort this out, as in supporting each other day to day and getting ahead. I think it's really important, and it's allowed us, like you said, to come up with some solutions to problems that exist in spite of what's going on, but we perhaps wouldn't have come up with that solution having not been pushed into this
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah.
So silver lining.
I don't think we would have,
No.
and because when the sun is shining, you put your sunglasses on and you keep walking.
Yeah.
It's only when the rain clouds come in and starts bucketing down, you got to put your sunglasses away and get the umbrella out. Like it's a different environment, right?
True.
The one thing that we're waiting to, I guess, to sign ink, whatever.
Yeah.
I forget what the phrase is. Too tired. Is with the stay store support. There's a funding element as well. So even if someone is worried about their own cash reserves and available capital, and they don't want to put it all into the property, this time next week, all being well. By the way, we need to come up with another S for money. So I don't know what that is yet, and I'm not smart enough to come up with one. But we need 4 S's.
Right.
We can't have stay store support money. Like it doesn't have the same ring. So we got to come up with another S. But we should be able to, by this time next week, announce that actually we can help you with the funding aspect as well. So the $500,000 that you were going to spend on your renovation, keep it. Keep it and as savings, whatever else it is. Let's arrange for that cash through releasing equity in your property, and use that money added to your mortgage balance. Just rather than depleting 500 grand, it'll just be an extra 3,000 dirhams a month. Don't quote me on that. I don't know what it actually is, but
Don't quote him on that.
Yeah.
It's going to be different. No, there is going to be something in place there. But also on that side of things was from the commercial bit of the business, with the situation has forced business owners to look at their office space, as you mentioned earlier. Are we in an office that's too big, too small? What do we need to do? How do we need to give it back if the landlord is making us give it back in the state that it was taken? So reinstatement from that side of things. But or maybe just talk a little bit about that, because I think there's still going to be businesses that perhaps weren't thinking about right sizing. This has forced them to think about it, and then let's think, well, maybe we should do that anyway, actually, because that's a good way to reduce our overheads. Talk a little bit about that, and also just the potential for maybe financing that, T's and C's permitting with that side of things.
So, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that a lot of businesses are pretty much propped up by a strong tourism market and a strong oil and gas market. In fact, everything pretty much starts with both of those. And there are a lot of businesses that, we are aware of that have suffered horrendously. So their income or revenue, dropped by over 50%. Now, if you're operating at a 10 to 15% margin, Like you're in negative
Yeah.
cash flow very quickly, almost overnight. And, their hand was forced. Who's making a coffee? That is very loud. Um, their hand was forced. They didn't have a choice. And it was, you know, potentially unpaid leave.
Yeah.
Or if things don't turn around by this date, sorry guys, half of you are going to have to go.
Yeah.
Now, the commercial real estate market in Dubai is, I think it's the highest it's ever been. It is bloody expensive. Because all of the business, or, a lot of the businesses that are, 3, 4, 5 years old, they're having a great time. Like they're growing year on year, revenues up, profits up, all the other fun stuff that goes with it. But unfortunately, and obviously, good real estate is very
So
hard to find.
yeah.
And if you have good real estate, you can charge a good premium. So what's happened is these types of businesses that have suffered, really badly, they're now, paying top dollar for rental of their office space that soon will only be half occupied.
Mm.
And so they essentially have two choices. Number one, try to renegotiate with your landlord, bring the rental price down, and pray that things are going to get better. And the people that you lay off, maybe you'll be able to rehire them in 2, 3, 4
Yeah.
months. Or have a look at the the remaining team and have a look at how you can potentially, repurpose the office that you're in to now accommodate the team that remains. Now, a perfect example of that would be look at our office, right? We have 2 units that are joined, by a double door.
Yep.
If we had to get rid of half of our team, and thank God we don't, but if we had to get rid of half our team, rather than going back to the landlord and saying, hey, can we renegotiate the whole lease? It's now, I need to give this one back.
Mm.
Can we talk about severance terms? And, I still want to keep this one. But when you designed that 4,000 square feet, you share MEP services, you share like loads of HVAC, all that kind of stuff. You need to redesign this, right? And so what we're offering essentially is, number one, the opportunity to help those clients, and this is no cost, to help them redesign that space. So from a space planning perspective, like not to go off one, but our meeting room is the other side, our pantry is this side.
Yeah.
And if we were given this office back, we don't have a pantry that side. So there's a lot of things that need to be reconfigured, right? So it's reconfiguring the space that you will remain in to include everything that a functional and performing office needs. And then putting together a cost proposal, again, no charge. So we'll do a space plan, we'll do a cost proposal, and the cost proposal will include reusing as much of the stuff from the office you're giving back as possible to keep costs down. And then if it is a cash crunch scenario, looking at how can we help you with financing this reshuffle, because it still won't be cheap.
Yeah.
Like even the firefighting, if we were going to separate both of these units, we'd need new fire panels and all the other fun stuff that goes with it. It is a costly exercise. Like it would probably cost us to move into that unit, all of us, or, a reduced number of us, probably about 150,000 dirhams just to reconfigure that space.
So, yeah.
Like,
Which is 150,000 dirhams that you also don't have
Don't
because the
have.
revenue has dropped off, and you're thinking, but I've got to do it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's a necessity, as in this is a way that we can reduce our overheads and we need to do it. But I really could do without having to find 150 grand.
Well, the great thing is but with the package that we're doing is we give you all of the information you need as a business that is right sizing to be able to make the call. Do you do it? How much is it going to cost? What is the length of time? What is the disruption to business? But actually, there is a high probability if your business is more than 3 years old and you haven't bounced any checks, if after this reconfiguration, there is a high probability that you're in a cash flow positive position, we can help you with financing that as well. So the 150,000, for example, again, I don't know the exact
No, I
numbers,
know,
right?
it's a nominal
But I'm
figure.
going to guess
Yeah.
6,000 dirhams a month.
Right.
It would be about 6,500. So 6,500 dirhams a month, rather than 150 grand going out, because there'll be a lot of businesses that actually don't have the 150
for
grand.
sure.
When you let people go, it's not from May where 80, 90, 100,000 dirhams better off. No, you got your gratuity, buddy.
Yeah.
You got 200 grand's worth of gratuity.
Yeah.
You got all the cancellations for the visas and everything else that goes with it. It is so expensive to let people go,
Yeah.
you know? So that was what we were planning to do to support businesses that are looking at right sizing as well, is how can we take the staff that will remain, or even if you're keeping all the staff, but you're swimming in space.
Yeah.
Guys, let's reduce your overheads. Let's reduce your lease commitment and reconfigure this so that what you would normally do in 10,000 square feet, we can do in 6.
Yeah.
And it won't feel like you're in a call center.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is that we can also help with that unit that you're giving back. There's landlords out there that will say, look, it looks beautiful, but I want it shell and core like I gave it to you.
Yeah.
And so then there's a cost associated with that as well to be able to, take it all out. And again, it's the same in the residential market. Landlords that you spend a fortune on your garden and landscaping and it's beautiful. And then they say, just take it all out. And I think, I don't understand.
I don't get it. You're adding value to the property. It's more desirable.
Yeah.
And yet, nope,
no,
take it back.
Take it all out. You think, okay.
yeah.
And again, personal opinions aside, that, okay, well, that's what the contract says.
That's what I signed.
So we have to do it. So again, companies that are going through that is that we can help with that side of things as well to say, look, we know you got to do it. You don't want to, you have to. And therefore it's a necessity. So in that scenario, we can also help you with getting that unit back to how it needs to go so that you aren't penalized by the landlord on that side. And how do you make the best use of the unit that you're keeping so that you can, like you say, get the same size team into a much smaller space. We can even talk about, how the whole system will work with hybrid working. So, okay, how am I going to get 50 people in that space? Well, they're not all going to be there at the same time.
Yeah.
So we can come, with a plan of how you can still do it from that perspective, which again is just, this is our wheelhouse, is what we do.
Yeah.
This is how we can help businesses in this situation. Because again, there's some out there that don't want to be thinking about this, but have to think about this.
Yeah.
And then there's also those that are thinking, you know what, this is a good idea anyway. We've been toying with this idea. And, us as a business, there's a few things we've been thinking about that this scenario has pushed us forward into it. So we were going to do it maybe 6 months, 12 months down the line. Let's do it now.
Yeah.
We can do that right now. And again, the situation dictates certain things that need to be done. So let us help,
And do you know what? I'm actually feeling super proud of the team and what we built. It all stemmed from how can we solve a bigger problem outside of the one that we've already solved. And those two packages, like the residential market, taking care of where they're going to stay. Oh man, big tick in the box.
Yeah.
Rove doesn't accept animals, unfortunately, but I just thought I'd throw that in there in case someone turns up with a teacup chihuahua. So the stay and the store, like that's a big headache and a massive cost. And then, the renovation side of things, that is also a headache. Like it's loaded with risk. And then the commercial side of things is, the space planning, the scope of work, the pricing, and then the financing. These two sets of people are experiencing the same environment we are. They, like you said earlier, there's different risk tolerances, but you can't bury your head in the sand, and as a business owner, you can't just ignore the calls from your landlord if you bounce the check.
Yeah.
Like there are steps that you can do today, and within 48 hours, you will know what your new space could look like, how much it's going to cost, and also what the repayments would be if you were going to finance what the fit out or the retrofit. Excuse me. And I don't make great decisions when I'm super stressed.
I don't think anybody does.
Yeah,
really.
And to be honest, I actually choose not to make decisions when I'm super stressed. It's just like, right, okay, give me a day, or give me 2 days. I'll then find something to do that will clear my mind, which is either motorbikes or gym.
Yeah.
And I will do that. And now I can put things in order and I can think things through. I will then sense check it with a couple of people. But that's how I know that I operate. Some people don't have that luxury because they are swimming in this stress. Let us take care of it. Give it to us.
Yeah.
And it doesn't cost you anything. Let us show you what you can do, how much it's going to cost. At least you got the information then to make a decision.
Yeah.
If you want us to help you further, brilliant. We'll be more than happy to.
Yeah.
If you want to do it yourself or you want to throw the towel in,
that's fine.
But it's a real option. It's a real viable option.
Yeah. And I think, like you say, it's true across all aspects of life, is that usually the more information that you've got, legitimate information, the more informed decision you can make.
Yeah.
So whichever way that goes, fine. but make it from a position of knowledge. And say,
Yeah.
"Look, this is what it is." And some people will then go, "Wow, actually, that's not as much of a risk as I initially thought.
Yeah.
I'd overplayed this and blown it into something else. Actually, both, financially, but also from a risk tolerance of environmental. Oh, I'm good with that."
Yeah.
And again, those that are like us, it will come back. We will bounce back. It may take some time, but it will come back. So why not plan now for
Yeah.
that uptick? Get stuff
100%.
done on both sides of the coin. Then we're positioned really well to take
Yeah.
advantage of the bounce back, as it were.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
think what do you believe the okay, so the scenario is the ceasefire was announced today. It's 2 weeks for a deal to happen between the US and Iran. Let's say that a deal is agreed upon. When do you believe the we will be back in a market that emulates pre-conflict?
yeah, very well put. Because I don't think it can go back to pre-conflict in terms of the image of this part of the world has
Yeah.
been permanently damaged.
Yeah.
The huge attraction of the UAE was safe, was this energy moving forwards, building and so forth. I think that it will still be there, but there's also now been a lot of evidence for the entire world to see that, well, there is risk.
Yeah.
That risk has always been there. Even when we moved to this, been 20 years, there was risk, but it wasn't front of my face. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, well, whatever these things, and now it's become very real. But I think that there is a section of the society here that stayed, that
Mm.
have made the decision that this is home,
Yeah.
and that regardless of what's going on, we will move forwards. Timeline wise, I don't know. There's still so many variables that
Yeah.
are unknown, and even this 2 weeks is you're never sure,
Yeah.
because somebody's saying something else. Is like, well, these are the criteria. Okay, it's all been announced, but then someone else says, but I don't agree to the criteria. It's like, hang on.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
so
wow, wow, wow,
where,
wow.
where are we exactly? And I think that's a big part of it, is that the common sense approach to this has kind of gone out the window based on
Yeah.
the characters involved in this entire situation.
Circus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is one way of describing it. But I do think, and have to believe, that there will be a resolution of sorts, and that
Yeah.
as soon as that is put in place, which will need to have some timelines of security,
Mm.
if you like, whether it's 2 weeks, 2 years, 15 years. Once that's there, and there's some, hopefully it can get to that there's some belief in and trust that will be upheld. I don't think it will take long.
Yeah.
I don't think it will take long, because as soon as that's there, there's so many people, business people, non-business people, governments, investors waiting to accelerate, because this part of the world, the UAE, offers a unique offering when it comes to building businesses and
Yeah.
and commerce and all of that side of things. I don't see it anywhere else. And okay, I've not worked everywhere else. I've been around the world at different places, and I've never experienced that here. I don't think that this is going to really squash that.
Yeah.
So timelines, I don't know. I just don't know, because
Yeah.
again, in my head right now, there's so many scenarios that are bouncing around. I was like, well, what if? So it's one of those kind of wait and see, and hopefully that there is more positive news coming out, and that in spite of whatever happens, is that we as a business entity, as a business community here in the UAE, are moving forwards.
Yeah.
And whatever happens, is that there will be steps taken forwards by each of us, how to support each other, what can we do to drive business forwards in spite of
Yeah.
the current scenario. And that's not to be, we're just pretending it's not happening.
Yeah. Sure.
It's to say that these are the variables that we do know of. What can we do?
Yeah.
And how do we support each other and keep moving it forward until such point? We've both had to think this and have both been asked this question, is like, and it is one that every entrepreneur has to face, that, well, how long do you go until you say, okay, there's the line. That's the line that's crossed, because I'm sure, and we put the line, and then it's like, okay, well, just move.
Yeah.
And I like,
It's when you start walking around with your passport in your pocket, you need to ask yourself the question: are you really committed to this?
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's but then there's also the other side here. But isn't that just a prudent thing to do, just in
Yeah.
case? And so yeah, you go backwards and forwards depending on the day, how much sleep you get, whether you're able to take care of yourself, get to the gym, do things that you enjoy to clear your head, to then make better decisions. Now, there are people out there that thrive on chaos
Yeah.
and are able to do it. I'm not one.
Yeah.
I need to, okay, let me absorb all of that information and let me process it. And then gym,
Yeah.
clarity, go out into the desert, sit there for a bit. Okay, now I've got my head space. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that a lot of small, medium-sized businesses, but definitely for us, is that we do that for ourselves. Then we come together and sit around the table and go, okay,
Yeah.
what shall we do? And then
Yeah.
the ideas start flying. And that's a good idea. And then it's all based on also the exterior support from people that we know when we come up with an idea, or is this possible? And even conversation like, is that legal? Can we do that? And then we go speak to our legal team. They go, no,
No.
don't
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
that.
That's never happened,
Yeah.
by the way. Yeah.
In that we just, ideas start flowing,
Yeah.
different ways of doing, who can we help, who can help us, how do we bring everybody together? And as you said at the beginning, just the willingness of the community, both business, but also just families, helping each other, checking in on each other. Are you okay? That question. And you've seen it many times in different communities because everybody's doing different things.
Yeah.
And when you see something like, are you okay? And sometimes it's like, no,
Yeah.
I really am not.
Bottom lip
Okay.
starts going,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
your bottom lip starts going. You're like, oh,
Definitely.
here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you want to also acknowledge that and take that on board and say, okay, what can we do to just make you feel better for the next half an hour?
Yeah.
Even if it's just,
Yeah.
maybe if you're not swirling around in your own head, you give yourself that headspace to go, you know what? Okay, I can prioritize this. And that's from a personal perspective, because like I said earlier, we've all had that wobble.
Yeah.
Regardless of your experience, and if you've lived in these kind of scenarios before, if you ex-military and whatnot, there's a line for everybody where
Yeah.
you go, okay, that's got me slightly
Yeah.
worried.
That was a bit too close to home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do I do? But I think as long as we can keep those communication channels open, check in on your neighbor, be kind
Yeah.
in this scenario, then we get a chance to get to that uptick faster than if we don't.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So-
true. I think one of the things that surprised me was obviously, that coming together and supporting each other. But there was no one in my network, our network, that when this started going off, whose plan was to leave forever.
Mm.
Every dad and business owner that I know stayed. Maybe you fly it for a week, you check on your family and all the rest of it. Oh, sugar. But the most dads and business owners, if they had the luxury of being able to do this, send their wife and kids to another country. Right. There's high levels of anxiety. I don't want the kids outside, because you don't know how safe it is,
Yeah.
right? So they go to another country, and everybody's goal was the leaving doesn't even cross your mind. It's just like, right, okay, how long is this going to last?
Yeah.
How long until I've got to get to until we get to the other side, of what do I need to do in that time? And it was amazing because the Western media was putting out some such misleading BS.
Yeah.
And it's like Dubai is dead and Dubai is this, that, the other. Like, I tell you what, next time pick up the phone to me.
Yeah.
Get a first-hand, statement on what it's like living here.
The problem is, even doing that, people still, because there's a number of people who have said and done that, and they're still, you can't convince people that don't want to be convinced.
No.
Even the first hand, and then it's like, well, you must be being paid then to say these things. I'm like, I wish. I'm not.
Yeah,
It's
that would
just
be
my
nice.
actual lived experience, but people don't want to hear that because it doesn't match with their narrative. And Western, it's all media, unfortunately. Just you never, and everybody's skewed one way or another based on what they're being fed. My background with digital marketing is that everybody's view of the world is very different because what I see on my screen confirms my belief.
Yeah.
And I used to do this in schools. It's like your kids swap their phone with their parents and looking like, I'm living in a completely different world.
Yep.
What is this and what is that? And this is a big part of what's going on. But then when you come to the business community, you start to see this, familiarity in people like, oh no, I get what you're saying. But even if they don't agree, it's the ability to have discourse around it and discuss it and go, oh, okay, I never thought about that. Social media is the worst channel, possible platform to do any of that because it doesn't work and it's not designed to work. But that's also a big benefit I've seen of this is the conversations that you've been able to have on the phone or even through WhatsApp voice messages in between brainstorming sessions and wobbly moments is that you can have other people's input and go, oh, actually, that's a really good point. I never thought about that. And now that's into my way of thinking, and it shapes how I come up with other things, even if it's a marketing narrative
Yeah.
and whatnot. I think that's a really, really good idea. But if I come at it as no, you're wrong and I'm right,
Yeah.
we get nowhere. And that is another, real benefit I've seen, is that the ability to have these conversations, and people being, even in WhatsApp groups, people have differing opinions, but being able to communicate it in a way where somebody goes, oh, okay, I
Yeah.
completely disagree with that. I see what you're trying to say. Here's my opinion on it. And you watch it going on without people going, you're a moron.
Yeah.
And you think, well, that's not really helpful, is it? Just maybe there is a point in there.
Yeah.
And even if you vehemently disagree with it, how can you do that from a position of kindness and openness? To why do I disagree with that so badly?
Yeah.
Is
Sure.
it because I've got bias coming from all the stuff that's being fed to me because of where I'm going? Is that maybe if I was a little more open to it, there's a solution there for both of us? And I think that's, where these kind of conversations come in to support the businesses, but also us as human beings as well. That's a whole other
Yeah.
episode, as it were.
Yeah. Yeah.
But very, very important, I think. And that being said, is there anything else that you wanted to mention on this?
Yeah.
Well,
I think no, it's
no.
just to say thank you to the UAE government
Yeah.
and the armed forces. It's scary, like it is terrifying the first 2 days when you hear these loud bangs, and it's louder than any of the fireworks you've ever heard. Disneyland, Global Village, wherever the biggest bang is like amplified up by 5.
Yeah.
Um, but by the time you got to the third day, you realize, actually, do you know what? This is remarkable, because we don't even see anything or hear anything coming over, and you just hear the pop or the bang, and it's just taken care of. It's bizarre. It's like it just made me feel a lot better, and it's just like, right, okay, I can now go about business as normal to a degree. I'm still a little bit concerned, but they've done a fantastic job, and it is such a shame that the Western media has, gone to the roost that it has, because they're not here. They don't see the level of support that they're giving everybody here. And behind the scenes, I had no idea, mate. We had those,
Everything
yeah,
neglects.
the floor to air missiles, the Patriots, and all the rest of it. But I mean, it's fascinating to see.
It
But
is.
yeah, thanks for keeping us safe.
Yeah, very much
Thank you for
so.
keeping us safe. We love you.
It is. It is. It's a surreal situation to
Yeah.
find ourselves in, but again, we've been very, very well protected
Yeah.
by the
Does
country.
the UK have anything like this?
I have no idea. I don't know.
I didn't even know we had it.
That's
In Dubai.
again a
Yeah.
whole other discussion
Yeah, yeah.
around the demilitarization of the UK. Anyway, we won't get into that. We'll just say thank you, and that we
Haven't
are
got enough time.
fortunate to
Yeah.
live here, that we made that conscious decision to be here, and that we're looking forward to supporting the businesses and the community as a whole moving forwards. Yeah, so we better go and try and find out what that other S should be. That's where I'm
Yeah.
going to spend the rest of the day. So thank
Yeah,
you
yeah,
very
yeah.
much, David, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in on this episode. We look forward to seeing you on the next one.